knowledge for its own sake is just knowledge that has not been applied. Indeed. Thank you. I would like to invite Mr. S. Gopalakrishnan to share his perspectives on R&D in India.
Thank you, Bhavna and friends. And it's a privilege for me to address you today. Mr. Murthy talked about the needs, especially towards the end he talked about the needs of an emerging country like India. We have more problems than solutions. And to me, what is even more interesting or important is that the solutions that already exist probably will not work in an economy in a country like India, or maybe even should not be even applied in a country like India. So for example, when you look at just automobiles, just cars for example, about 3.5% of Indians own cars. About 10% of Indians probably can afford to buy a car, and pretty soon maybe 20% of Indians will be able to buy a car. And of course they will buy the latest and the greatest car. But then, is that the path that we need to take? Because already with 3.5% of Indians owning cars, we can't drive on our roads, we're getting polluted to death, and this problem will get compounded as the number of cars will increase. So we need to look at, of course, new technology, but we also need to look at holistic solutions on designing cities. How do we create more public transportation and things like that? So there are significant number of problems that will require us to look at not just individual technologies. At the system level we need to look at country level we need to look at, and this problem will be compounded by the fact that we need to look at affordable solutions, right? So drinking water, for example, can we make drinking water affordable to every get drinking water reaching every citizen at an affordable price? We did it in telecom because smartphone prices have plummeted. We have one of the best networks, telecom networks in the world, and probably at the lowest possible cost. So we need to look at new solutions, we need to look at affordable solutions. Now when I discuss with researchers around the world, and when I pitch for collaborative research, and that's what I want to talk to you about, why India must collaborate and why the rest of the world must collaborate with India. The reasons I put forward to them are, of course, one, we have problems that require new solutions. The solutions that have worked elsewhere are probably not the right solutions to be applied in the 21st century when countries like India are going to develop. Because if we do that, we will go through the problems that the rest of the world have faced, or the developing countries have faced. The challenges of inequality, the challenges of affordability, the challenges of inclusiveness, all of these problems we will go through also. So can we look at a different model and a different set of solutions? We have engineers, scientists who are trying in the best institutions around the world. Our own institution standards are increasing and improving. So we can actually contribute more scientists and engineers to solve problems that are global. So for example, one of the areas I'm supporting is cure for Alzheimer's. Now this is a global problem. So more people working on this problem means hopefully the problem will get solved faster. So India can contribute more resources. These resources typically are at lower cost because India will continue to be a lower cost economy for many years to come. So overall cost of the research as well as the solution comes down, and hence the solution will be affordable to more number of people. Just an example, today one of the cures for many forms of cancer is immunotherapy. A course of treatment costs $200,000 to $600,000. Very small percentage of people, even in the most advanced economy, can afford this treatment. And definitely, very small percentage, probably a minuscule number of people can afford it in India. So it is possible to lower the cost of doing this research from India. The third point I present is data from India is not present in many of the databases, especially when you look at medical research and things like that. Do you know that the drugs that you take have been tested on Anglo-Saxon white male people? Many of the databases have representation of 10% of the world's population. 90% of the world's population are not represented in many of the databases. And when you go to solutions that are based on what are some of the new areas in medicine, personalized medicine, etc., your data becomes very important. At least the population data becomes very important. Most of the DNA sequencing databases in the world have, as I said, white Anglo-Saxon male people represented. Asians are not represented, Indians are not represented, Chinese are not represented. If Indians are represented, they are Indians who are living in some other locations. New insights can happen with diversity of culture and diversity of thought and diversity of background and diversity of data. That's again very, very important. Will the solutions that work for, let's say, a particular set of people in another country, will it work for people in India? We need to look at that and think globally when you look at these things. And as I said, these solutions will have to be modified. So this gives new opportunities for us to innovate and new opportunities for us to push ourselves to find better solutions. Now let me because I have now limited time, talk about some of the things that we need to do and why I passionately pitch for this among even my peers, my fellow industrialists, etc. Today, India spends 0.6% to 0.7% of GDP on research. Out of this, 0.6% is spent by the government, and private sector means private sources, philanthropy, everything, spends 0.1% on research. A developed country, like US spends about 3%, Korea spends I think 4%, China spends 4 to 5%. We have to increase the overall percentage of spending on research. And government has made a commitment. They've increased their spending to, or they're planning to increase it to 1%, but the private sector and philanthropy have to go significantly above what they're doing today, because they're only spending 0.1%. To go to 1.5%, because half, let's say, by private sources, will require us to increase the spending by 15 times. The wealth is there. We need to spend that money. Another point, just look at the ecosystem that exists in Bangalore. The new trend in Bangalore is all the R&D facilities of multinational corporations are here. But how much interaction happens among these companies, amongst industry? Is there a platform for them to come together and discuss these things? Research, I'm talking about research now. And is there a platform for them to now collaborate with our academic and research institutions? They seem to be in silos. And within our academic institutions, only recently we have started doing interdisciplinary work. Otherwise, physics will not talk to biology. Of course, many IITs didn't have biology at all, because it was felt that that's a different science. Now, if you want to bring a medical college into an IIT, then we have to go to a completely separate process, because that comes under Ministry of Health, which is another problem, another challenge that we have. We have to break this down, and we have to bring people together. We have to create platforms. which allows us to look at multidisciplinary research and things like that. And the last point I want to make is about translation. Now, we are not spending enough on research. On translation, we are spending very, very little because industry is not involved with academic institutions. So the translational work, of course, the venture community will not fund translational work because they will fund only work that has been proven. The proof of concept should be available. But who pays for the proof of concept to be created? I think industry will have to come forward for the proof of concept to be created, and that's another thing that we need to do. In the last 5 years, certain aspects of this I've been trying to address in my own way, in my own little way. But I, thought I will use this platform to pitch for more participation, more money, and more support for research in India. Thank you very much.